Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, we are back.
Ethan.
After doing a Thursday night, hot off the press, semi-emergency episode about Thor, Love and Thunder, which I strongly encourage everyone to listen to. We are now back for a special Friday episode. Let's start off with For All Mankind.
Right now, quite possibly the best TV shows that's available to us on TV.
So let's hit it with For All Mankind. What episode number is this?
This is episode number 5.
Only 5, so we're kind of halfway through.
This is the midway point.
Then, huh?
This is the midway point.
This is the midway point. So I felt like I was not happy with the start or the ending of this episode, but I liked everything in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know why. No, I'm with you. I don't know why, but this episode kind of felt a bit meh, if you ask me.
Yeah. I kind of want to check IMDb and see who directed it and not really point fingers, but I felt something was different about kind of the pacing and the drama. It just felt like a little bit different, you know? And for me, it started when, remember where we left off? We left off that the NASA spacecraft, Sojourner, went to catch up with the Soviet spacecraft, Mars 94.
That's right.
And then as they were rescuing the cosmonauts, you know, the 94 craft started to go kind of sideways, and it not only crushed an astronaut, killing him, but it also seemed to have caused quite a lot of damage, like structural damage to Sojourner.
That's what it looked like until this episode.
And now this episode, the way it started, somber. You know, there's kind of I guess the equivalent of a burial at sea, which, I mean, I guess let's not nitpick that, but I thought that was kind of unnecessary and maybe isn't the way that they would do it, but okay, I understand.
But what else are you going to do with the bodies?
I mean, they're in space. I thought they'd just kind of like put it in cryo or bury it on Mars, or I don't know. I guess I just didn't think they were going to jettison it.
Yeah, that's true. And they did that for Zeke anyway. Yeah.
I just don't think they're going to. But anyway, that's I think nitpicking on religion and procedure and culture and stuff like that. But then they're just kind of like, okay, all's good. Let's gas up Sojourner. Good thing they've got a bunch of hydrogen or nuclear uranium, whatever they've got. We'll just connect the hose. We'll fill it up and off we go. And I kind of felt like, well, wait, what about the damage? And then they kind of said, engine 1 is a little bit malfunctioning. And I just thought the start of it glossed over what I thought were going to be major problems. I thought maybe they'd be stranded. I thought, Helios was going to come. I thought there was going to be a lot of stuff. And they're just kind of like, oh, we took a small detour. We're back in the race. On we go.
I thought that was super anticlimactic given the way the last episode ended. And honestly, it was
wasted opportunity.
It was kind of disappointing. Because this show has not been afraid to pull, to really go for the gut.
Yeah.
And this seemed like they were pulling their punches, right? Like it seemed like such a cop-out to be like, okay, it feels like, 24 hours later, they have their, space funeral, and then automatically they're on their way. And, and this, like you said, it ties in exactly right to the ending, which is to say, and again, spoiler alert.
Yep.
It ties in perfectly to that ending, which is to say they reach Mars on time, or like within 24 hours of the Helios crew, which in itself is already like, it seems a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they beat them to the ground, which, again, I didn't care who landed first because at the end of the day, both crews had people that you're rooting for one way or another. But and the one thing I will say is it's kind of nice to see Danielle also kind of take a page out of Ed's book, which is let's take that little bit of a risk. Weather is calming down, but it's still not perfect. Let's go for it. Whereas Ed is like, okay, no, I'm going to now take a page out of Danielle's book. There's only so far I'm willing to take this risk. And I think it's also got to do with the fact that Danny is on board with him and he sees him as like his son almost. Yeah. So he doesn't want to risk it. So he's like, screw it. I'm not going to take this chance. And he aborts the mission. I don't know. I just thought that, I think you're right. The beginning and the end of this episode was kind of.
I wanted more. I wanted more out of that space rescue. I wanted them to either say, hey, we've got to Russians are like, hey, you got to tow the ship, or they had to get some supply. I mean, I just thought that should have been a bigger drama, and they really made it just like an F1 pit stop. Like, okay, all aboard, choo choo,
fueled up, yep. Let's go.
And
I thought, what I thought would have been cool is if they did something like where they're jury rigging one of the engines. Now, I'm not saying that they're taking one of the engines from the Russian onto the thing. But some kind of, engineering problem that would have made things a little bit more spicy.
There's so much opportunity. I mean, this is a drama. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is a drama. This isn't we want something exciting, here's a great opportunity to write all this stuff. And they're just like, nah, let's just on our merry way.
Let's think back to one of the greatest space movies of all time, Apollo 13. It had not, this episode in particular could have had all that tension.
Yes.
Right?
Or the one with Sandra Bullock, where she's...
Gravity. Yeah. Where you had a lot of that tension. Your heart is racing.
Yes.
And you know that it's a show and everyone's going to have a good ending, but you're just in the heat of that moment, you're stressed out. And my God, how amazing would it have been, because we finally see that Ed is able to cut out Dev. How amazing would it have been is if they're now both those crews are in trouble, and then Ed takes over the ship and becomes a pirate, and he swoops in at the last second with the Helios space station and saves both crews. You know what I mean?
So, there's so many spin-offs. I totally agree. There could have been an alternative as well, which is the world is captivated by this rescue. Ed lands on Mars, and it's like a pin drop. No one's interested at all, right?
Exactly. And all of a sudden, they're like, who cares about this first?
Exactly.
It's human lives are at cost.
Yeah, Danielle, the hero, and NASA's this great, amazing, American, humanitarian rescue mission, and everyone's focused on this. And Ed's like, hey, I'm here. I'm landed. I planted the flag. And I was like,
where is everyone?
Yeah,
or the ship is literally falling apart after this collision. So they board their but their Martian landers, and then they have to kind of slingshot their way towards Helios, and Ed has to go out and catch them before they kind of burn up. There's so many things they could have done, and I will be the first to say that Ethan and I sound like we're probably a little hypercritical. But that is
we're just normal critical.
No, but I think this is also the cost of success. When you do a show that has been so consistently excellent, the slightest of stumbles, and I think in the grand scheme of things, this is a slight stumble, but for the greatest ones, a slight stumble is something that's shocking. It would be if Michael Jordan bricked 2 for 2 on a free throw at the end of a game that could have otherwise won the game. Statistically insignificant, but at the moment you're just like, what the hell? That's not Michael Jordan.
You're saying it's a stumble. I think it's more of a missed opportunity. I don't think this is a storyline that doesn't make sense. I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's you could have done an entire episode of drama centered around this rescue, right? And instead they just kind of ignored it and they just went we saw a shuttle crash into another shuttle. 3 people died, right? And then we come back and they're just gassing up the tank and they're like, okay, let's.
And they're on their way. Yeah, you're right. So this is more like a layup instead of a dunk, right?
Yeah, that's your analogy. taking it back to Winning Time, Lakers on HBO.
Yeah.
They've got this great opportunity for this fantastic crowd-pleasing dunk, and they just go up for a gentlemanly, fundamentally solid layup. And it's like, nothing to see here. And everyone's like standing on their feet like, we're going to see something amazing. And they're like, what? Still 2 points? Yeah. It's all just a basket.
yeah. You're right. That's actually the most appropriate way to think of it.
So that's where I got.
It was a missed opportunity.
That's where I got kind of frustrated by the beginning. And then I think kind of going on with the theme, then I guess there was supposed to be kind of like this Russian-American kind of drama on Sojourner. And then, of course, Kelly meets the guy who is listening to her pirate radio station. Right. And then she rushes off to like shove her tongue down his throat. And I just found like, this is like two half-baked storylines, like either have a lot of drama, where the Russians know all about engines and they take over. And I thought that would have been pretty interesting, actually.
Oh, man, that would have been so fantastic. Like
it started that way.
The things that we wanted to have happen did happen, but not where we were hoping it would be, or where I think the most of the drama could have happened. Because right now, at least on the NASA ship, the drama, or at least on this episode, the drama was really just centered around, like, I'm the leader, this is my mission, and then a little bit on weather, right? It was a little bit like that. Yeah. Whereas it could have been much more drawn out. It could have been much more like an espionage spy thing where they're kind of like spying on each other, trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, it just, it chafes me the wrong way because of that.
Yeah. I thought there was a good opportunity kind of at the beginning of that storyline where one of the cosmonauts is like, okay, does anyone here have, I don't know what he said, like nuclear engineer engine training? And everyone's like, no. He's like, well, look, my team's got to do it then. And I thought that was like a very good way where Danielle's like, okay, fine. And then that just puttered out. It seemed like it was this big turning point, and then never heard from again. Apparently, Kelly kissing the dude made the engines work, and he fixed her zipper.
They start speaking in Russian, and they're talking about how the schematics are slightly modified from the ones we had, and they think that nobody on the American shuttle understands them, but Kelly does understand them. And so now she has to start talking in code to Danielle, and it becomes like
the Russians could have accused the Americans of stealing their designs.
Exactly.
Say, wait a second, guys, you've got the exact same thing. How did you get these designs? And the Americans like, we always got the designs. How did you get the designs? It could have been like this amazing, like, it was just like a nothing burger.
100%
as someone once said to me, it's a nothing burger. Like, and then Kelly, then they kind of start talking about like a little bit like culture and their differences. And he learned his English from rap music, and, she's from Vietnam. She should be a communist. And like, it was just a few little things and nothing really like, no one like took the storyline and ran with it. All of those would have been perfectly good,
Yeah. And I argue not just perfectly good, but slightly more, engaging than what we saw.
It is a drama, sorry, check your own, storyline. This is a drama. We want to see drama. And then I think another thing that kind of bothered me was, all I like the idea that they cut to like the news stations to give like an overview of like what's happening in this race to Mars. I think that's cool. I didn't like that they've got like this dotted line, like they're really neck and neck. Why do they have to have the same landing window? Why do they they could have done it like different ways. Like, I guess I like the drama. Like, they both had to make a decision. They've got a tight window, but they could have chosen to land on different places on Mars. It could have been like totally different. Maybe there was like a blackout. They couldn't see each other. Are they going to go? Are they not going to go? Like, does it matter? Is there timing differences? I just thought that could have been a little bit different, but I have to say, I like the idea that they had a window, and then if they don't hit the window, then they've got to go like circle around again. That I could get behind, I say.
Okay, so, I mean, that's, I think, where you and I probably were a little disappointed. Why don't we shift gears a little and talk about what really got us going in this episode? Was there anything that got you excited in this episode?
Well, I have to say, I feel a lot of sympathy towards Ed. I think Ed really showed like some good growth. You know, he got his team, you know, to find a workaround for, you know, the tech issue. You know, he seemed to have like good leadership there. You know, he reached out to Danny and genuinely seemed to be a good guy to Danny. And I think that, as we're going to see, like, in a minute.
That heel turn, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it only because Ed has now, time and time again, has proven to be the good guy. And now Danny is not just turning out to be a bad guy, but now he's being like, he's almost relishing the fact that he's being that way, right?
I mean, he's turned creepy, actually.
Yeah.
It was, he did something and he was a kid, had problems getting over it. And now he's turned like malicious and creepy and a little bit insubordinate. And I kind of feel like this is going in a really, really bad place. Yeah. Like Ed's been so decent to him. Like, you know, this could have been, you know, my son and your son. You know, you and your dad and I did so many cool, like Ed's been really, really good to Danny. Right. And
totally. Even
Danny was kicked out of NASA. Right. Like, Ed took him in and, you know, kind of vouched for him and said, come on, Danielle, it's not so bad. And, yeah, really, really heartbreaking, I think, for me to listen to Danny kind of manipulate Ed. I mean, he was being so bold. I was a little bit surprised Ed didn't kind of lose his temper. And that's
I don't know. It came off really creepy, a little slimy, and I didn't like it. And I think and maybe this is now being a little cynical and trying to be a little objective into, you know, what the tropes would be for something like this. But I think what they're doing is they're making Danny, like, they're giving him this, like, absolute heel turn.
Yeah.
Where he's going to be like this despicable guy, which he's already kind of transitioned in towards. And eventually, I can't help but feel like what they're going to do is be like, listen, we're going to have to give him some kind of redemption arc. And like in episode 10, or maybe in the next season, there's going to be an opportunity where somebody has to sacrifice their life to kind of, you know, make sure that they all survive. I think it's going to be him.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. But now that you've got me thinking about that, I kind of feel like it's going to be then the opposite. Where
you think it's going to be Ed saving Danny?
No, I think Danny is going to do something very heroic, and Ed's going to, like diminish it, or like, what do I want to say? Like, not acknowledge it, you know,
or steal his thunder somehow.
Yeah, kind of like, hey, like your dad was a hero, your mom was a hero. You've been like really an asshole. And now you did this heroic thing. I don't want the world to like think that you're this infallible great guy. You are not a good guy. You know, instead of acknowledging how heroic you are, I'm just going to like ignore the issue, you know? Because remember, they kind of had that when it was him, Gordo, and Danielle. Remember in the station, the Hi Bob episode, where Gordo went crazy and Danielle sacrificed herself. And she didn't get any credit for it at all. They're kind of like, look, you are a hero among us. We're not going to tell anyone what you did because obviously it would destroy, you know, not only Gordo's career, but it would kind of destroy your career as well, that, you know, you intentionally injured yourself to cover up for something. So I feel like at some point, I mean, that could go a lot of ways. I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, it is Gordo's son. You know, if Ed and Danielle are together with Gordo's son, they could also say like, hey, like we did this for Gordo, we're not going to do it for Danny, or vice versa. Say, hey, we've got so much respect for Gordo, we're going to do the same for Danny. But I agree with you. Something's going to happen where Danny's going to get worse before he gets better.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how they're going to get outed. I don't know how he's going to get outed, but like apparently he's now hacked into this computer system and can see everyone's emails or video mails or whatever. It's going to be outed somehow.
But I mean, I feel like I know how that's, I mean, I don't know, but we kind of see how that's going to be outed, right? He's getting Karen's messages. He's intercepting all the messages. He's going to say something. And it's going to spill the beans and it's going to be like...
Exactly. Like, how do you know that's what happened? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. But there's going to... You're right. That's probably the easiest thing to do. So, But he's going to get outed somehow. Yeah. It's all going to come tumbling out. And then he's going to either become the pariah or he's going to become like the leader of the bad guys. Yeah. The quote-unquote bad guys who are against Ed on the space station. And you just know that Dev is going to use that as leverage... while on Earth to kind of help him take control over the ship again.
Yeah.
Or the mission, whatever it is. I loved that, by the way, that Dev... It's not he got much comeuppance, but I love that he kind of gets a little bit of being put back in his place by Ed. It's like you've made, we're going to do everything to wipe the stain.
And Karen. Karen hands in her resignation. He's like, you've got
credit for me.
nothing Karen does will ever satisfy you. But I liked her line. He's like, hey, you've got a contract. She's like, so sue me.
Sue me, yeah. What are you going to do?
Come on. Give Karen a little bit of credit. But where's Molly? Where is Molly? I thought that was a super cool scene with Karen and Molly's husband. But Molly's not dead. Apparently, right? Because he's talking about
smoking a joint, chilling in the bathtub, maybe.
I thought that would have been a cool scene where those two kind of spoke to Karen and like gave her some. It was suspicious why she wasn't in that scene
why she
at
wasn't
all.
there, but maybe they're just saving her for more of the next couple episodes. Because as the other good part of this is now you get to see the noose tightening around Margot's neck.
I have. Margot is my Karen. However you feel about Karen, for me,
that's how you feel about
I want Margot to burn. I want her to really, really go to a Russian gulag, and I want her to be tortured. I think that what she's done has been so terrible and manipulative, and the way that she's acting and the way she sits in her office and plays her bloody grand piano makes me so angry. So angry that I give her a sliver of credit for at least demanding that they bring Sergei back and provide some proof of life. But the whole thing...
But the noose is tightening, right? So the Russians are obviously going to keep asking her for more information because, well, obviously they are. Duh. Like, what kind of idiot wouldn't have seen that coming? And the second thing is, now we've got, like, this internal investigation by Alida, her protege, right, who's onto it, where she's just like, listen, I'm doing all these calculations. She's giving her evidence. She's trying to gaslight her, and it's not working because Alida's like, listen, I'm onto something, and I know it, and I have the proof, and now you know it, too. I kind of got the feeling that Alida was on to something about being fishy with her, but I got the feeling that she was giving her the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't 100% sure. I think, and I hope that it all comes tumbling out in the next episode.
Do you think Sergei is a good guy, a bad guy? Do you think he's still kind of manipulating the situation? Where do you think he falls? Do you believe he's really sick? Do you think he was really tortured? Do you think his
family is being held hostage?
Yeah, or do you think this is just the long con?
I think I would have normally said this is the long con.
Yeah.
But having seen him in this episode, having seen his new, like the lady who replaced him?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. For me, it's 50-50 right now. If I had to guess right now, I'd say it's not a long con. But at the same time, if at the end of the season we find out that it was all a ruse, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I should say, I guess the way the episode went, it seems to be legitimate. But I feel like there's still something about him that I don't trust. And I wouldn't be surprised if she goes, like, she calls in to, who's our president? President Ellen, right? Ellen Waverly, right? Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if Margot goes through all her machinations to get Ellen to, like, give this guy asylum. Or when he's supposed to leave, you know, she kind of arranges for him to stay back. And he kind of double crosses her at the very end, you know?
Yeah.
And just as hey, Margot, I'm sorry. I had no choice. As I told you, my family, or, you know, Russia's my home. And, you know, like.
Yeah. Where he ends up choosing, maybe not even choosing Russia, but choosing his family. In which case it lessens the blow.
Yeah.
Right. And if he's like, oh, I'm doing this for Mother Russia, then it becomes more of a, well, you should have seen that coming.
Yeah. I like it the other way around, where I like it the other way around, though, that he says, hey, Margot, look, you're going to jail. Like, one way or another, you know, Russia is somehow going to, you know, use this against you. Come to Russia with me. Right?
Oh, and she goes full defection, but the other way around, which is also a great twist, right? Because you always hear about Russians or Germans or Koreans or the quote-unquote Axis bad guys defecting to the good guys. You never hear of it the other way around.
I would love to see her defect. And she feels like, look, I've got no way out. My reputation will forever be like, I'm not going to go to jail. I'm not going to take the fall for this.
I still want to continue working.
I still love Sergei. Yeah. You know, he's the only man I've kissed in the last 25 years. You know, like I'm going to take him up on this. It's the only way to, you know, to save him and protect him, you know?
And the only way is that if this is still a long con to us, the viewers. Yeah. Like, imagine if she's still secretly working with the FBI. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
so
maybe, we don't know.
What do you think is now, the way this ended, I thought was a little bit, so I said, like, I had a problem with the beginning and the ending. The ending had something that I think was meant to be kind of funny. Where they
kind of fell off fell on the ground.
Yeah.
After they hugged each other.
The implication, I thought, was, you know, the commentator was like, oh, what an amazing moment of unity. They're going to do this together. And then it kind of turned into like a little bit of a farce where I thought the implication was they started wrestling, you know, like, oh, look, they're friends. Right. And then it was like they started rolling around in the dust and they were kind of like grappling or fighting with each other, you know, like a hugely humiliating moment, I guess, for everyone involved. So was that supposed to be funny? Like, I thought the ending was just a little bit like,
I didn't read anything into it, to be honest. I just thought that they were kind of both of them decided they were going to stand out to take their first steps together. They hugged each other, and in the heat of the moment, they kind of fell over because they were just super happy about getting I didn't read. I didn't read anything into it, and I could very well be wrong. After having heard what you just said, it didn't even for a second cross my mind.
Because the dude,
but now that you say that,
because the cosmonaut was like, the cosmonaut was like, I'm going first. And Danielle is like, whoa, what are you doing? This is our craft. We rescued you. I get off first, obviously. And he was out the door, so she caught up. And I kind of felt like they were jostling down I call it the runway. I don't know what that is. You know, when she was kind of like walking faster, putting her arm in front of him to kind of push him back. And he was kind of jostling, trying to stay a step ahead. And the commentator was presenting it like, oh, this is so great. They're going to do this step by step. But they were really kind of fighting. And that's why when they both happened to put their foot down simultaneously, what looked good, then they tumbled to the ground because they were actually
into a vessel. Yeah.
But in any case,
that could be it. I mean, yes, that when you say that, it makes sense. It makes total sense. I didn't see it that way, but maybe because I wasn't. Again, because maybe I was a bit down on the whole episode. Maybe I didn't read too much into it.
Yeah.
I wasn't super critical of that.
So how do you feel about the real two issues are, Ed could have been first, and he did the same thing that he did with Apollo 11. He pulled back, right, and did not make the landing. And Danielle made the landing. She stuck the landing, and it kind of seemed like there was going to be maybe damage. Like they kind of made it like, oh, we're going too fast.
What's interesting is like they took the entire ship down, which then makes sense because obviously that's what that ship was designed to do, whereas the hotel wasn't designed for that. So,
but I was kind of thinking like, okay, I thought it was going to be a role reversal. So Ed made the conservative call. He decided not to go, but then Danielle was bold, but like she smashed into the ground, landing gear destroyed. I thought kind of like maybe the door would be like wedged against a mountain or something. And I kind of thought like they were going to land too hard and there was going to be like distress. And then it would be, okay, Ed, now you've got to save us. I was surprised. Again, I think there's a lost opportunity. I was surprised that it just went off kind of smoothly. Yeah, that's it. So Ed's back. So I guess they go around again. They drop him again. And then I guess they're going to start to like make their camps and settlements and stuff like that. So I would imagine the next episode, they just kind of fast forward and show them all in kind of like the tents and stuff. And like, Ed made it.
Like they'll have already like if this show continues with the way it has in the past, I think it'll be like a few weeks later and they'll have a base camp already set up.
Exactly
and
right.
We won't need to see all that infrastructural setup.
Exactly right.
Which is similar to what we saw them do at Jamestown on the moon and the race to Mars. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
The only reason that they wouldn't do that is if in the middle of all that they discover that North Korea already has a base on the moon. On Mars.
Yeah. See, actually, that's another kind of missed opportunity, right? That it would have been cool if like they would have landed, right? Okay, because it was this big race for the two of them, right?
That's right.
And they would have landed and like the fog kind of clears, the dust settles, and they look out their window and they're like,
a North Korean flag.
What is that?
Yeah.
That would have been a good ending, That's a suspenseful...
imagine if they just looked out the window and there was a mini base and a flag already there.
Yeah.
And then fade to black.
Yeah.
And then you wake, and then, what a great mid-season cliffhanger. Then episode 6 shoots up and we're like 2 weeks later. And there's like...
Dude, you're so right, because the line could have been like something like, I thought you said, I'd turn to you and be like, I thought you said that Helios aborted the mission. And you're like, that's not Helios, And that's the ending right there.
That's it. Yeah.
You're like, who is that?
That's it. Exactly.
Right?
Oh man. And then fast forward 2 weeks.
Yes.
They're setting up their bases. All three corporations / countries are setting up their bases, or now 4. And then back on Earth, you have like a 4-way like conference with Russia, the US, Helios, and all of a sudden, surprise, North Korea sitting at the table.
It could have been the same thing. You could have shown like the Russian crates or the NASA crates, and the crates could have been opened. And
they're just like all the materials that are there have been co-opted by the North Koreans.
Yes. Like that's all, like all these powerful ways that you could like end it. I felt like just kind of walking down the ramp. Okay, fine. They made it. Now what? You can't open it next episode, right? They always kind of skip forward. Like you said, it's a week later and everyone's like in their HAB unit. And, then it's usually like, okay, NASA's like, hey, the supplies still didn't arrive, or the supplies are supposed to be here. We still haven't found it yet. We've only got 1 more weeks of food or something, like they're going to skip forward. But I thought that landing should have been, that's the drama ending. That's how you wanted to leave that episode, set it up for like the next big thing. And I thought either you find someone else is already there, or you find that your stuff is either damaged or it's been used, or
It would have been
Yeah.
a very redeeming way to
Yeah.
forgive the earlier 50 minutes of
Yeah.
this episode.
So
Yeah, because all of a sudden the tension would have disappeared from everything else and been shifted purely onto Mars.
yeah, I agree.
Right now, the tension there's not so much tension on Mars, to be honest. I mean, what little drama and tension there is kind of like stuff we've seen before. Except for the Danny and Ed situation, but like we've already seen the U.S. versus Russia, arms race that resulted in whatever happened in Jamestown.
Can I tell you though, there is something that Dev said which I thought was a very good point and made me rethink, or maybe made you rethink, what we talked about on the last episode. Because the last episode we had a big discussion of, does either NASA or Helios have an obligation to help out the Russians, right? Yeah. And Dev said something I thought was really smart, which is he's like, hey, I didn't make them rush their timeline. I announced first. They had a totally different timeline. They decided to accelerate it by 2 years. I didn't make them push their engines, and he said like maybe 3 points. And he was actually right on all 3 of them. It was cold. But he was kind of right, which is they chose their own path. They were reckless about it. And now they want me to fix their problems. That's not my fault, Yeah,
I get it. And again, on paper, he's absolutely right that no obligation exists, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Fine. But then it's also about like, it's about like what's technically correct and maybe what's ethically correct or morally correct. Yeah. So that's where it comes down to. And by the way, you'll notice the one thing I will appreciate, Karen said exactly what you said, which is, hey, because he said his excuse was it was a company-wide vote. We all voted on it. And she says that's BS. Yeah. They did exactly what you wanted them to do. Yeah. Not the other way around. It's not that, you actually had an open vote. Mm-hmm. Right? And Ed was the one who called him out and said, listen, you have made this, you've put a stain on this mission now. What would have been great is if he addressed that to like the entire company to kind of put a spotlight on all those people. Yeah. Because like few of those people had that spotlight put on, were just like, no, I agree with the boss, blah, blah, blah. It would have been great to be like, no, it's because of you that those people have died. Yep. Just keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. And that's, I guess, one of the other small, even though I love For All Mankind, one of the small criticisms I have, we're still not getting more characters, right? Same thing. Ed, Karen, Ellen, 1 or 2 news conferences, Margot, Danielle, no Bill. Like 1 headshot of Bill, no words, no Molly, Kelly, kind of, Alita, kind of, Danny, yes. That's it. Now Sergei is back. That's it. They didn't, like, maybe the new Russian Sergei, that lady, maybe she takes a way more prominent line. I would have liked to have seen actually like it would have been super cool if Ellen would have been like, hey, like now I've got pressure. NASA is a U.S. thing. It was supposed to be not profit. Why are we helping the Russians? I'm removing you, Margot, or I'm defunding you. Or there could have been like some also political drama about the fact that a government subsidized agency, did a rescue mission for Russia, right? And now they're going to help them, and now they're going to subsidize them. There could have been some deal in the back room where Americans would have gotten like all this stuff from Russia, right? Maybe even their nuclear technology, and they find out only it's their nuclear technology. Or they said, look, like you've got to perform our experiments. There could have been more, I think, negotiating on that or more drama around that as well. That's a big
Marco's
thing.
Marco's got to bite the bullet because this is really now like, she not only gave them the rocket technology, she also is now going to approve them to use up their precious resource and let the Russians do whatever experiments they want and not tell them what's going on. Yeah. Like, how is this even going to get through? There's only so much in this kind of mission. There's only so much that the director of NASA can do. before it becomes public knowledge, right? Like, how do you even spin that to anybody?
I don't know. She was playing her piano and she was making decisions.
I will never be able to look at a grand piano, by the way, without thinking of you and thinking of Margot from here on in.
I mean, the piano is just, for me, it's just, she's not even doing it in her personal apartment. You know, that would be okay. It's just a sign of like gross excess. I feel, and you know who you're talking to. You know who you're talking to. For me to make that statement is really outrageous. You know, I'm never someone who thinks like executives have too much power or too much, compensation.
Ethan and I are excess fans.
Yeah. I mean, for me to come out and say that person has lost their way, they're out of control, they have unfettered power because they have one kind of cheap brown grand piano, really must mean that my feathers are ruffled. In any case, still love the show and actually can't wait until the next one. And I wish Apple TV Plus would not do this on a weekly basis. It's really annoying to me.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't like it either.
Do we have anything else to say about For All Mankind, or should we turn our attention to our other true love?
No, I'm done with For All Mankind for this week anyway. We have 5 more weeks to go.
Yep. So now we have, drum roll please, the season finale, even though it's only episode 8, of Amazon's The Boys.
Indeed. In fact, I made that mistake last episode. I thought that there was going to be 10 episodes, and then I looked back and I quickly realized that, oh my God, there's only 8 episodes, which means that this week's episode is the finale. And boy, what a finale.
Do you think it was a finale? In terms of season finales, are you like, wow, I need to sit down.
No, not that way, but in the sense that it wrapped up a lot. It wrapped up quite a few, not loose threads, but it wrapped up the story and
gave you good closure. And
it's going forward in a way that I did not anticipate.
So what surprised you? Can I give the summary? Can I give a one sentence summary? There's a showdown at Vought Tower with Soldier Boy coming to kill Homelander, but Homelander brings his son Ryan, and because Ryan is there, Butcher backs out, killing Homelander, and the rest of the team gasses Soldier Boy, puts him back in his cryo chamber, and now we see Homelander and his son embracing being bad guys. As bad guys,
right? It's not what I saw coming. And to be honest, remember, we talked about this a couple episodes ago.
Oh, yeah.
And you actually brought it up. So kudos to you. All credit goes to Ethan.
Aww.
You talked about, what about the son coming back into play? And I specifically
A lot of daddy issues.
And that is a running theme, which I should have seen coming. But I went out of my way to say, hey, I don't think they're going to bring him back because I don't like the kid and I just think he's a nuisance. I'm not a big fan of what he's going to add to this. And in fact, they went the other way. They brought the kid back. They made him integral to this, which means, they made him not integral, but I think that means he's going to play a very large role in next season.
I mean,
right? That's what they're setting it up for.
For a moment, I think that Homelander gained a lot of sympathy. And I think it was also, as you would say, cognitive dissonance. We heard this really nice speech from Soldier Boy. He led us into his backstory a little bit, right? He was never good enough for his father. He went out and he took the experimental Vought drug. Then he became, this great guy. His father still didn't think that, he was good enough. He wanted desperately to have a kid so that he could be a better father. He said it himself, right?
Yep.
Now he gets a chance to be with Homelander, who he just found out is his son. He meets his grandson, and he throws all of that out the window in seconds. I thought that was like, whoa, pump the brakes, guys. these two storylines aren't matching. What's the problem here, you know? I thought it would have been better if, you know, if Soldier Boy would have, like, Soldier Boy would have, told, Homelander, hey, I want to be a better father. And Homelander would have rejected him. And then I could see Soldier Boy saying, well, to hell with you then, But I thought it was really strange that Homelander gave him this really nice speech. And then he's like, nah. You're disappointed.
No, but it worked for me. It worked for me because it just shows that, he continued that cycle of abuse, right?
Yeah.
And the whole point is that you want to kind of discontinue. You always want to be the one who breaks any cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
So the father abused him, and now he was going to abuse his son, and then he ends up abusing his son.
Yeah.
And Homelander is the one who's going to try to break that cycle of abuse and not abuse his son. But in fact, he's going to go the other way. He's going to embrace his son and use him as a tool, right?
And Homelander's son gives, at the very end, gives this very subtle kind of smirk, which made me think that he's kind of embracing this, right?
Yeah.
Like at first, it kind of seemed like he was repulsed. It was written very clever, like in that 10 seconds. It was first like, hey, he's repulsed by his father. He's going to turn against him. And then you saw like just this thin little smirk, like, no, he kind of likes it. He's going to embrace the bad guy as well,
Yeah. I didn't like the kid. I just don't, I didn't, we'll see. We'll see how things go in the next season, but I wasn't a big fan of the kid. And yeah.
We're running out of, superheroes here though, right? I mean, so now maybe. Soldier Boy's gone. Black Noir is
dead.
Oh, what's your feeling on that?
That was a shame. I was hoping for a little bit more than just. It seemed like an undignified way for him to go.
Yeah,
or not undignified, very anticlimactic. I was hoping. We've always heard that Black Noir is like this kick-ass superhero,
we didn't see it.
Never really got to see any of it. So I thought that there would be a great fight sequence or action sequence. None of that. He literally gets punched in the gut by Homelander, and that's it.
I have to say, though, I side with Homelander. I mean, I do not condone violence or sticking your fist through anyone's intestines, but I feel with Homelander a little bit. He's like, hey, did you know he was my father? Yes. And you never told me? Like, you never told me I had a father? I think it's overreaction, but
yeah.
So basically,
that's Homelander to a T. No, but now, by the way, Homelander is kind of burning his bridges with everyone, right? He calls out the Deep. He calls out A-Train. He even calls out Ashley, who for a millisecond I had a bit of sympathy for.
What? Can you hold on? Who is Ashley now? Like, I don't understand the hair. Is it stress?
I think it's stress.
Cancer?
I think she's just been. No, I think it's just like she's been. Because remember, she in the last episode, last season or last couple seasons, she's always been like the one who's been bullied and the one who's always been like the butt of everything.
Yeah,
I think that's like that. Unless there's something I missed in that, I think she's just
that's
been
why
like,
I asked
all that
you,
stress,
like,
and she's been pulling her hair out.
I also thought I watched that scene twice because I first thought like, oh, is she someone else in disguise?
Yeah.
And then obviously she's not. But then I was like, I don't get it. Like, is she have cancer? I just didn't get it. But I agree. I guess it was just implied that she's very stressed.
Like she's always worried. She's always scared. She does the one good thing we've seen her do is destroy the evidence that Maeve is still alive.
Yeah.
So, and then Maeve kind of gets her happily ever after moment.
So Maeve has lost her powers, right?
Yeah, because, we don't know, but theoretically, yes, because all the superheroes who get hit by that radiation blast from Soldier Boy have lost their powers.
So Soldier Boy's in his cryo chamber, like, gassed.
Yep, the U.S. government's back, has got him under control again.
Maeve lost her powers. Black Noir is dead. The Deep is...
the Deep and A-Train are still in Vought, but they're kind of like in, the timeout step,
Yeah. Both of them, I think, kind of felt sad this episode, right? I mean, both of them are in a lot of ways not sympathetic, but A-Train kind of went to his brother and said, hey, dude, like, I can't do this without you.
Make it up to you.
Yeah. And his brother's like, get out of my face.
Yeah, I never want to see you again.
And the Deeps, I mean, although he's kind of like tragic, but I mean, like, you know, his girlfriend, who is so manipulative, goes on, you know, an interview and kind of like talks crap about him. Like, both of them were.
Yeah, but they call them out in a way, like, both of them get called out for exactly who they are, which is why I don't sympathize with them, right? A-Train gets called out by his brother.
Yeah.
Who doesn't, and like he's been being called out this entire season. You don't believe in anything. You're only about merchandising.
Yeah.
You have no faith in anything. You don't have anything. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And then the same thing. So they get called out by everyone else. And then finally Homelander calls him out.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Deep. You're a terrible person. You've never done anything right. Blah, blah, blah. Then Homelander has him kill the vice president nominee.
Yeah. Yeah, now we see Victoria Newman is...
And then Victoria Newman steps in, so I'm sure she's going to be the antagonist for season 4.
Yeah.
Or 5, whatever it is. And that means... And then his ex calls out the Deep and says, you don't want to be with this guy because he's also a bad guy. And he sits there and he says, yeah, and, you know, he knows it. It's because, you know, finally everyone's kind of been like, you're all terrible people. Yeah, it's hard to sympathize with any of them.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this show is that even no one walks out of this show unscathed.
I think only Starlight and Huey and MM.
Mother's Milk, Starlight, Huey, and even Frenchie, and now, especially now, Kimiko.
Oh, I have to say,
she's had their redemption. I did love that scene where she puts on Maniac and she goes to town on those bad guys. I was just like, okay, so she's in it. She knows what she's doing.
I mean, I'm still not seeing the Frenchie Kimiko. They need to stay in the show, but if they're really sincere about breaking out of the cycle, they will just leave, right? They keep kind of bringing them brings themselves back into it. And like neither lets the other escape. It's kind of like this constant need to continue to be rescued, right? Like at some point they have to say, look, like we wanted to be together. We wanted to get out of the cycle of violence. You know, she wanted to get rid of her powers. She did. And then like she wanted them back and they wanted to escape. But first they had to help their friends. And I mean, if they're really sincere about this, they will eventually
leave
get out of
at
it.
The end.
Yeah.
Not just eventually, like hopefully you see them leave and then maybe get pulled back in. That's different.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, the way it's set up now, it looks like they've got their the quote unquote the organization, the boys, and Starlight has joined them. But she's no longer Starlight, she's just Annie.
Yeah.
And Butcher is back, and he's got, he's now on a borrowed time, right? He's only got 12, maybe 18 months.
Apparently. But what do you think is if so they have their office building, right? And it's called, yes, the boys are like loosely an organization. What's their mission statement now? Has Vought not been brought down enough for them? They know about Victoria Newman, who, to be honest, doesn't really cause problems if she's not provoked. And there's Homelander, right?
Yeah, so I think it's those two that are going to be the primary antagonists,
which
means now that the Sun is going to be a primary antagonist. And I imagine that a portion of next season is going to be about Butcher trying to bring him back to the good side.
Do you think that do you blame Butcher for going soft? I mean, no one asked Butcher to kill his son. It was just, hey, soldier boy, you shouldn't have pushed my son. Now I'm going to fight you. He should have just... If he was really serious about Homelander, he should have just let Soldier Boy finish off. He should
have let him finish it off, and then, I agree. Like, that was for a show that's all about superheroes and villains being pragmatic, that wasn't one of the more pragmatic moves.
And, I mean, I guess it goes two ways. One, it shows Butcher's, as Huey said, deep, deep, deep down, there is a kernel of decency to Butcher. And that was kind of it, which is, yes, he's not my biological son, but I raised him as a son, and no one pushes my son around. You know, I'm sticking up for him. That's right. And in some ways, that's very, very admirable. Alternatively, he definitely lost the big picture. And it's also extraordinarily hypocritical when he just told Soldier Boy, hey, go kill your son. You got to think of the big picture, Soldier Boy. Get rid of your son, you know?
Yeah.
No one was asking Butcher to kill Ryan. He was just saying, hey, let the guy do his thing, you know? So, but that's good. Is the implication also that Grace Mallory is dead? What do you think?
No, because we see her in the last season, in the last scene with Soldier Boy, right? She's the one who puts him into that chamber of gas in the tubes.
Oh, she does? Oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, so that's
she's
good.
Fine.
That's good.
She should be fine.
All right.
Unless my eyes are just playing tricks on me, she's totally fine.
So tell me what we see for season 4. Okay, Soldier. I mean, yes, we've got Homelander and his son. What are the other?
So for season 4, I think at this point, they're probably not going to play around too much with it. I imagine Victoria Newman becomes the new vice president.
Yeah.
So now we've got a soup in disguise in a position of power. I don't think they'll just tease us and then not have her lose the election or get out of the election. I think you see her actually win the election, making it all the more difficult to get after her.
Yes.
I think the boys go after the 3. Well, not the 3. I think the boys go after the 2 of them. Butcher obviously is going to struggle with the fact that he's dying. And so one of his last missions will be to try to save Ryan from Homelander, or at least convert him. And then if they don't want to kill Butcher, I imagine they find a way to turn it around, maybe by giving him permanent V.
Yeah, I think that... I mean, I've loved The Boys, every single episode for 3 seasons, but I have to say, I think this season finale was a little bit of a downer, only in the sense that it didn't open up this world of, oh man, I can't wait to see how this plays out. It ended it in a way where we're not sure what's going to happen in season 4. It's all kind of in play. Yes, Homelander's still the bad guy. They're still going to try something, but the
status quo really hasn't changed in that regard. You know, so you still have an organization that's going to try to go after the boys, after super villains, which is what we saw at the end of season 2.
Yeah,
we still have Homelander as the main bad guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, at some point you're just like, okay, I'm not saying it's going to be more of the same, because if there's one thing this show is very good about, is keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the status quo overall hasn't changed.
I felt like the writing was a little bit like, all right, let's wrap this up in a good way. We're not sure what's next. We'll think about it in our corporate retreat next week, you know?
Yeah.
We don't actually have it in our mind yet. Let's just keep all our options on the table. You know, we don't have consensus among this writing production team. Let's just wrap it up clean. Next week, let's all take a deep breath. Let's take a beat. Yeah? Go get a Red Bull. We'll sit down next week and we'll discuss where we're going for season 4.
Yeah.
We don't know it yet. I kind of felt like that. And that's not bad. But I would have liked a little bit that, again, we triangulated a little bit where, say, Black Noir would have not died, but, you know, he would have come back and, you know, him and Homelander would have had a big square off, and he would have been like clearly against Homelander now, right? And he's kind of like, there needs to be like a separate league of people. It can't be A-Train. It can't be the Deep. They're too weak. They're too weak in terms of their powers. They're too weak in terms of characters, right?
Yeah.
Maeve is gone. Okay, yes, there's Starlight, but Starlight's part of the boys. I felt like there needed to be like a secondary,
like a third.
You know,
the word?
And Soldier Boy is very
group
good for only one season, but you know now he's out of commission. So it would have been.
Yeah.
We didn't see like any of those kind of little what you'd see like from a mid credit sequence. You know, someone kind of breaks in to get Soldier Boy out. You know, or Grace Mallory makes like a secret phone call in the lobby saying, "Yeah, I've got him." Understood. well, I'll do it. You know, like there could have been.
Or the U.S. government decides that they're going to start creating their own group of superheroes.
Yes.
To go right after Vought.
Yeah.
Or not even to go after Vought, but they're just like, listen, we're going to have our own team. They can do whatever we want them to do. And if that means that our interests are aligned with Vought or against Vought, we'll have the weapons to fight them.
There could have also been something like, Victoria Newman could have introduced her daughter to Homelander's son. Homelander and Victoria could have like shared a kiss.
Yeah, I've totally forgotten about that.
There's all these kind of like little teasers that they could have done, and they still can do these. I mean, they definitely wrapped it up cleanly, but I felt like a little bit too cleanly that I'm not really like, I gotta get
there's
to.
nothing like
I've
what
gotta
are we
get
going
to
see next
season 4.
Yeah.
You know, like
and again, I keep saying this every time we talk about The Boys.
Yeah,
we haven't read the comics.
Have not read the comics.
Maybe there's a clear direction as to where they're going. But, for somebody who hasn't read the comics and is unlikely to read the comics,
please message us and tell us. Free hoodie.
Or at least give us hints. Maybe don't tell us exactly.
Hoodie. Free films and stuff hoodie if you can.
Give us an idea as to where this could go, or give us some hints, because obviously we don't want it to get spoiled on us, but at the same time, you're right. This ending was wrapped a little too neatly, and like all the things we're talking about are guesses and conjectures at best.
Yeah. It's, this is really why though so few shows. I mean, we haven't even talked about Marvel MCU, and we may need a separate wrap up on that as well. But so few shows go 7 seasons, right? 4 seasons is a lot. And it's kind of better to like end after 3, like what's that show I love? Travelers, right? Travelers, 2 seasons or 3 seasons?
3 seasons.
And I'm like begging for another season, but I have to say that's how they want to end it. Is that I'm dying for more, and they're like, look, guys, we kind of exhausted all the storylines. Let's end it here, because you don't want that next season.
You don't want it to be some cheap thing that kind of, or you don't want something stupid that cheapens the seasons 1 through 3, which is ultimately exactly what happens.
And the same thing's going to happen for All Mankind. I mean, it happens to every show. You cannot have shows go on for 18 seasons, right? I mean, there's no more like sitcoms like Cheers or Seinfeld or
those
Friends.
That do are all either sitcoms or procedurals, where there is no overarching storyline that really binds.
And they're all 30 minutes as well. I mean, if you look at the episodes of Friends was 10 years, right? I mean, that's
right.
And they were all 30-minute episodes, and they had commercials. I mean, when you watch For All Mankind, it's 52 minutes straight, right? 48 minutes straight. A 30-minute sitcom has probably 12 minutes of commercials. It's only like kind of 18 minutes of content. So instead of 10 seasons of Friends, you're really only watching 4.5, 5.5, whatever. Anyway, I think that's all we need to say about that. But
yeah, look, I think now that the finale is there, I will say once again, The Boys, Amazon Prime's The Boys, it is certainly a must subscribe.
Absolutely must subscribe.
This is a show that if you don't have Amazon Prime or Prime Video, get it. You will not regret it.
You will not regret it.
3 seasons only so far of The Boys, but each season has been a banger. They've all done really well. They're all excellent. And they take every trope that we see from the DC universe and from the Marvel universe and spin them and turn them upside down on their head, which is why it's so refreshing. It's a superhero show, but it's unlike any superhero show you've ever seen. I'd go even so far as to say that the closest you would get would be something like Deadpool, but it takes anything from Deadpool and turns it up to 11.
I agree. I totally agree.
Okay, so that's Amazon Prime's The Boys. Go watch it. You will not regret it.
Please message us on Instagram, on Twitter. If you're old school, email us.
aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com or on Twitter at F&S Podcast.
You'll find us.
You can't miss us. We're the loud guys always talking about how For All Mankind is the best show ever.
And we're in love with Karen.
Ah.
At least one of us is.
Yeah. One of us is.
Pete, a pleasure as always.
Thank you,
And
Ethan.
we will catch everyone on the flip side next week.
Bye, guys.
Take care for now. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.